They've won Tonys and Oscars and Emmys and Grammys. There's no red carpet because they're home in their jammies. From Melrose Place to Broadway to Janeway and her crew. Let Seth and James bring all the stars to you.
Anywho.
They're entertaining everyone, so who's gonna grouse? Just sit right back and you'll hear some tales on Stars in the House.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. First of all, we're having camera problems, and we're actually starting the show late, and it's the meanest time to start a show late because our two stars are in London, and they literally stayed up till 2 a.m. in the morning, and we're like, we'll have you in and out, and we're actually beginning late. So right now,
yes, it's a wonderful way to start.
We're having camera, so we're on my laptop right now while David, our tech genius, is trying to figure out our fancier camera. I hope you guys can hear us. We're not even using a fancy microphone. Oh, wait, I did it reverse. It should be this. It should be Seth and James, right? How do I edit that? Tell everybody
I think that's the least of her worries right now, Seth.
Off my back. Tell everybody what this crappy show is.
This is Stars in the House.
What's that?
It is our daily live stream for the Actors Fund.
What's that? The audience asking questions.
Really?
Yes, I'm trying to make it realistic.
No, it's realistic, the fact that we started late. And your sister's commenting. It's like, but what's interesting is,
oh, Nancy, we're too close.
No, she's not saying that. See, that's the interesting thing. You're up close tonight, which could mean, oh, you're up close tonight, or it could be like, wow, you're up close tonight.
The whoa did not make it sound positive. It was like basically not at this age is what she's saying.
That's what I'm saying too.
All right, Nancy, rude. Anyway, the Actors Fund is for anyone in the arts, and it's for
sadly only in the United States.
I was going to say,
sorry, Sally and Peter.
The UK has a version of it, which we'll discuss with them.
Yeah,
but for anybody in the United States. By the way, thank you, Carol, who says we both look great. Carol Leaf, I appreciate it. I see the comment right now. Anyone in the arts, on stage, off stage, in front of the camera, behind the camera, no matter what you do for the arts, you can get help from the Actors Fund. And we're going to read some letters tonight from some people that got help. Well, Nancy's still not being specific. It means whoa. I know, but the line reading is what's missing, Nancy. We don't know what the line is. A positive or negative. Anyway, if you can help out, because, really, we were just talking today to a friend, like, nobody's working. People have checked the check. Savings are gone. It's not like an actor when you're out of work. An artist, you're like, oh, I'll just keep auditioning until I get another gig. There are no auditions. Like unless maybe some TV and film, but really, really little. And because the stimulus bill, for numerous or singular reason, did not pass, people, unemployment is running out for people in many states, basically the day after Christmas. We're going to talk about the stimulus bill tomorrow, right? I guess we're going to talk about the last stimulus bill with the NEA chair, the National Endowment for the Arts chair. Fancy. Tomorrow, Marianne Carter, and a bunch of people from all over the country, from Honolulu to Alaska to the East Coast. It's all over the United States that have been helped. That have been helped by that. Yeah. Anyway, we're being distracted. Listen, if you can help out, Anyway, well, exactly. Mandy's biting her nails. Her dog. Wait, simmering. It's overflowing the marital tension. It's no longer simmering. Where was I? All right. So if you can help out, please go to starsinthehouse.com, make a donation. And then once you make the donation, you're going to get a receipt. Forward your receipt to donations@starsinthehouse.com, and we will read them on air, or somebody will read it in the UK with a fancy accent. And they'll pronounce their accent, but they'll pronounce favor with a U. Very inappropriate things like that. Wow. I'm going to read you. Well, while you're looking for a thank you or a comment from someone who's been helped, we are up to $573,780 raised for the Actors Fund. Yeah, because of just people like you. We don't have corporate donations, just people giving 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks. We really appreciate it. Here are some of the many thank yous that the Actors Fund gets all the time. Someone wrote, I wanted to at least reach out and somehow to thank you for the grant I've just received. It's been quite literally life-saving for me. It has been the ounce of hope for which I've been working so desperately to find. My greatest gratitude. Someone else wrote, I just wanted to tell you, thank you so much for the support. I was mentally sick and I was totally depressed because I haven't received my unemployment and I have no more money in my bank. I really appreciate your help. So the Actors Fund, I mean, they're really saving lives. And we can't believe that the show's been going on since March and people are still donating. It's really amazing. If someone keeps asking if you got help once, can you get help again? Yeah, you apply. Yeah, right? You apply, and anytime you just apply. Simon's watching. So, first of all, Simon, I was going to say it's amazing you stayed up till 2 to watch the show, but I know you actually are constantly up till 2 ordering pizza. So I'm actually not impressed you're here. Simon Lipkin was in my production of Disaster along with Sally Ann. Simon, you have to come on the show. Oh my God. And don't resent my British accent, Bus. You guys you speak like bitches.
At least you didn't say call blimey.
Call blimey. That's my signature because, I have an amazing Cockney accent, which I will show Sally Ann tonight.
I think you just did.
Oh, I think we do.
Oh,
so we're promoting this brand new amazing musical that Sally Ann and Peter have done. We're going to show clips from it. We're going to talk about their past, and hopefully we're going to get some donations too. So please welcome Polycarpou, right? That's how we pronounce it. Is Polycarpou? Peter, you're not nodding. You're not giving me any acknowledgement. Oh, it is Polly, because this is Polly. Okay, so this is Peter. I think it's Polycarpou. Hi, Peter.
It's Peter Polycarpou. Yeah, absolutely right.
I still got it. Hi, Peter.
I'm delighted to be here. Hi, nice to see you guys.
Not believe you're awake. And please also welcome Ms. Sally Ann Triplett.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening. What time is it there? Is it 1 or 2?
It's 1:05.
1:05.
Oh, so that's not a big deal. By the way, Simon, just so you know, we can block you. So I just want Simon to be aware of that.
Hello, Simon Lipkin. How are you?
We love Simon Lipkin. Okay, so first things first, before we get on to all the fun things I want to discuss, I should really put in the banner, the show is called Falling Stars, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And how can people, because here's the deal, it was supposed to be running live, but of course, no one was observing any protocols. So suddenly, shockingly, there was a whole COVID outbreak. So it was like, you know what?
In Britain.
Well, basically, by the way, around the world. So basically, they were like, we can't do this right now. It's too dangerous. So there's a filmed version people can watch before this goes live. So how can we all watch this filmed version?
Sal, do you want to do that one?
You can go to stream.theatre between the 22nd and the 29th of November.
Sally, do you spell theater normal style or pretentious style?
What's that?
Spell theater normally or pretentious style? Is it
Normally. Theatre. Stream.
That's not normal.
That's normal.
No, that's not
That's normal.
But
that's not normal. Is that pretentious?
That's théâtre.
Theatre.
Thank you.
Stream.theatre.
Merci. Now, when does it actually begin? When can we start seeing it?
So it starts on Sunday, the 22nd, for a week until the 29th of November, which is, and you can stream it anywhere in the world. But I've also been told that it's going to be probably on Broadway demand later on there. I don't know when.
But this is starting really soon.
That's the starting place. And we was, as you said, we were supposed to be at the Union Theatre, and our Prime Minister came on the telly on a Saturday night. Everyone was in watching it, and then the next morning we all got on a Zoom call and just went, we can't do it. Everything's going to be shut. And Pete and I were a bit more like, well, that'll be it then. We'll see you in the new year. But everyone else, the producers and lots of other lovely people, the director Michael Strassen, they just said, why don't we film it in wartime spirit? So we rehearsed for 2 days. Pete and I have done the show 12 years ago, so it's sort of in there somewhere. But we literally rehearsed for 2 days. I felt like I should have a little scarf on and red lips and wartime. And then the third day we filmed it, and it was the most amazing day, most uplifting day I've had in many, many years.
I wanted to say for people in the United States who don't know, Peter and Sally Ann are like the Nathan Lane and Bernadette Peters of the West End. Like they're constantly starring in shows. Wow. Peter was the original John in Miss Saigon, starred in Phantom of the Opera. You were in the original Les Mis. Sally Ann, I feel
the original John in Miss Saigon. The original
Bouidoy
on the recording.
On the recording that everybody has.
Bouidoy, that's this man.
That is correct. Sally Ann's done a million West End shows and Eurovision, which we're going to be discussing, but they're constantly starring every 2 years in another Broadway show. How did you guys meet? Did you meet in Les Mis or something? How did you first meet?
Do you want to get that, Sal? I mean, Sal and I go back about 35 odd years. We met probably through my sister, who was doing Godspell with Sal many, many years ago, and we did a charity performance of it and one Sunday, and we all got together to do individual songs, and I came in to help out, if you remember, and
Yep.
we sang together on this charity show of Godspell, and that's how we first met. And we've kind of been in touch ever since, and through one way or another, we haven't actually worked together since Till Falling Stars, but we kind of known each other. I worked with Sally's husband Gary on a show called Imagine This, and our families have kind of crossed paths over the years, haven't they? And so we've known each other for a long time, but this is the first real time professionally that we worked together for any length of time.
Yeah.
I can't hear you now.
Can't
Seth.
hear you, Seth.
You've gone. No,
Press your
completely gone.
buttons.
Hello.
Shall I host the show while you're trying to come
No,
back?
you shall not.
Say that again.
I was saying, go back to Godspell. Whose song was who? Who were you? Were you?
You know what? I wasn't actually in Godspell. I was going to let that one pass, but I wasn't actually in it. Although I did do an online version we did recently, and Stephen Schwartz is in it at the beginning, and I did On the Willows. But the thing that Pete and I did together, I sang by my side, and oh my God, I love that song.
Where are you going? With a pebble in your shoe, and it's called Dare. Peter, what was your song?
I think I did that on the Willows there. Part of that. Yeah. And I sang. I did Learn Your Lesson as well, a kind of jazzy version of Learn Your Lesson as well. Because if you're smart, you learn your lessons well. I kind of did it that sort of jazzy, bluesy sort of way.
Down.
Many years later, and I did my own arrangement of it. But beg your pardon?
I said Seth's desperate to turn to that piano.
Yeah, so every 2 seconds
I've got one here. Yeah, but a lot slower, Seth. A lot slower. So it was kind of. How does it start?
I can see a swap.
Yes. What key are you in?
C major.
I can see a cinema. If you're smart, you'll learn your lesson well. That sort of kind of version, really.
Okay, I love the sassiness, but I'm angry about being upstaged about the piano playing. I had no idea piano was right there.
I don't have anything.
I'm supposed to be doing Smile, aren't I? But there you go. That's why I'm sat at my piano, Seth. So yeah, there you go.
I'm furious. Okay, so tell us what the show is.
Yeah, and did this get started? Because you said you did the show over 10 years ago.
Yes. Can I do this one? It was something that it came about because I found an antique shop, and inside that antique shop, I found this wonderful old songbook, and it was falling apart, and I have it here. It's tattered and worn out, and it's from, it had this wonderful personal collection of someone's songs from the period of the 1920s. It was just someone who put this bound together, and they had it lovingly, in their collection. So it was for sale in this shop, and I kind of bid for the ownership of it. And then as I started to read the music in the shop, in my head, I realized that these wonderful gems, beautiful, songs like, for instance, one of the first things that struck me was a title of a song called When It's Nighttime in Italy, It's Wednesday Over Here, which is a beautiful song by James Kendis. And, things like, Je t'aime à travers les âges, which means, roughly translated, means
I love you across the ages. That's in the show.
And then Arthur Freed translated that to be the charming title of You Know You Belong to Somebody Else. So why don't you leave me alone? And these wonderful songs suddenly started to formulate in my head, and I was thinking to myself, well, actually, the idea came to me in that kind of moment that it would be wonderful to put this into a kind of show. And I went away and researched some of the writers. I knew some of the writers originally, and people like Ted Snyder, who gave Irving Berlin his first job, and Harry B. Smith, who gave Charlie Parker his first job. And it was kind of the early writings of these people who became quite well known later on in my research, I discovered. So, and Arthur Freed went on to produce An American in Paris, and Gigi, and Wizard of Oz, as a very, very famous film producer. So I was discovering these songs, and they were the early writings of these marvelous young songwriters, and it just seemed to come together as an idea for me. And I've always loved the music of Charlie Chaplin. And a lot of people don't know that he wrote the music for all of his films and all the musical themes, and people like Meredith Willson were very attached to him, and Meredith Willson would notate because Chaplin would hum the tunes to him, and because he didn't read or write music himself. And so this wonderful kind of combination of the songs that he wrote during the 1920s and the songs from this personal songbook came together in Falling Stars. And as you will know that Falling Stars is a song that Chaplin wrote for A King in New York. So that's how it came about.
So it was you're the creator of it. And I actually didn't realize you were part of the creator. So how did you did you decide to cast Sally, or you showed up and they were like, we're using her and you can't argue? And you were like, shit.
I've always, I don't know, so it's.
I don't know. It's not the right answer, Pete.
No. I said I didn't say I don't know. I said I've always wanted to work with Sal. Maybe it's the time delay. I actually make it now 1:20.
There you go.
But no, I've always wanted to work with Sal. And so the idea presented itself very quickly after I had written a draft of it, that we could come together at the Jermyn Street Theatre and do it. It's a tiny little theatre in Jermyn Street in the middle of London, and that's where we first did it. And it went down so well that Penny Horner, who runs the theatre, still does after all these years, and she loved it and she wanted it back, and then we did it again, didn't we? In those days, Trafalgar Studios, under the auspices of the Theatre Mad, which is another theatre charity. That
we love Theatre Mad.
Yeah, it used to be Theatre Mad, and now it's something else. So that's how we came together. And Sal's voice is just perfect, and our personalities seem to really hit it off together on stage, didn't it? I hope so. It wasn't like
we've got kind of like a fast track to each other. It just works. We've always just got on, and we're talking about the show all the time at the moment, but then we're talking about what we did during the day. We're just friends, really good mates, and on stage we can just look at each other and kind of know what's going on.
But this particular production came about after everything shut down in March, right? Was this something that had been in the works before everything shut down in March?
No, I was in New York, and we left at the end of August, basically because my mum turned 90 and she was on her own. So I had to get back to London, toot sweet. I got back here and things are a little bit more open than they are in New York. There are some things happening. There are some Christmas shows. There's something on at the Dominion Theatre, for example, which is socially distanced. So there are things happening. And I met Thomas Hopkins, Ginger Quiff Media, who's our producers, and he said, "Do your cabaret." And I thought, it doesn't feel right. I said, but I've done this show with Pete, and I feel that it would suit it. Once we started working on it, we realized even more how kind of timely it is. The songs were written 100 years ago for people to forget the war and also the pandemic that they've just been through. So the Roaring Twenties became the Roaring Twenties because they had to find some kind of happiness and joy. And so the writers were like, well, come on, let's just make everyone feel good. So it was like, this is a great thing to be doing right now.
Wait a minute. So it came about that quickly? You got back?
Yeah. I mean, we've done it before. So we kind of, the script there and the songs.
Well, don't you remember you called me anyway from New York and said you were going to be back in a few months, and did I like the idea of doing it? Because I remember you saying then, and it kind of stayed in the back of my mind.
Right.
And then as soon as Sally came back, really, we got together and discussed it, and we workshopped it for a day before we did these 2 days rehearsals, which just
a day,
just to kind of cement the songs that we were going to do, and it still had a resonance about it, which it had then, but given what Sally has just said about the fact that 100 years ago there was this Spanish influenza of pandemic, which killed, between 30 and 50 million people. The mortality rate was 1 in 3. And there just seemed to be all sorts of interesting resonances between the songs. People wanted to forget, and these songs helped them to do, just that, really.
Pete, was there one thing in particular that stood out to you more this time than when you originally wrote it, did it?
Yeah, because Smile has a resonance about it, which it never had before, because I do it in a way that I've never done it before, because I think that smiling through what we're all going through at the moment and the underlying feeling of the kind of trying to, look on the more optimistic side of life, I think it does have a resonance which is very contemporary and very interesting. So as an actor, it's interesting to play that. And I do think that Sal has an approach to the singing of these songs, which is an actor's approach. So she comes and says, "Why don't we do this character here, Paul?" Or Paul's my nickname, Polly, because of my last name. But anyway, she'll say, "Why don't we try a character here in this song? It might be about rejection. It might be about we've met each other in the past, but there's a kind of scene integrated around the song." And they weren't meant that way. They were kind of like little follies, which constructed beautifully. But then they do have a resonance today about them, and approaching them as you do from an actor's perspective.
So just like reading a piece of script, just trying to turn it into something with, take the music away and find the story in there somewhere.
I have a clip of the two of you together. Let's take again. This is from the actual show.
So why don't you leave me? So why don't you leave me alone?
Same octave. I love that.
That's so cool to see that.
So you've got the French meaning something else, really. The guy saying, I love you, and I want to be with you. And the woman saying, so why don't you leave me alone? And kind of, the contradictions work in a way which I find interesting.
I want to just go all the way back because you guys have had such long careers. Sally Ann, most people just do theater here in the United States and don't really kind of go to the pop world. What is Eurovision? Because we don't really have Eurovision. Like, is it like American Idol? I know that you began with that. What the hell is it?
So Eurovision was started in the 50s. I think maybe 56, something around there. Can't remember. And it's basically every country in Europe puts forward a song. They have their own little competition in their own country. And then the winner of that competition goes forward to the actual Eurovision itself. So there's one song from every country. And then everyone sings it and the whole of Europe votes. So when I did it I actually did it twice, but the second time I did it was much more successful because we got to number 2 in the charts, but there were 500 million people watching when we sang the song, and it's all live. So even though it's a pop song, and it was actually produced by Andy Hill, who went on to work with Celine Dion, and he's an amazing producer. The songs had to be performed live with an orchestra, with violins and cellos, which is mad. But yeah, and then the whatever country wins. Back in the day, we used to do very well. And we used to win, and Cliff Richard did it twice. And I'm one of 4 people that's actually done it twice. There's only 4 of us that's done that. But back in the day, we did very well. And England would win, and then Ireland would win, and Sweden, and ABBA won. That's how they became famous.
That's how they became famous. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Eurovision.
That's how they kind of became mega stars. Was with Waterloo. But as the years have gone on, and Great Britain, United Kingdom rather, has become less and less popular. So we don't really win much anymore. We usually get nil points.
Well, what was that duet? Was that the one that did well? It was like you and a guy, and you both had the same hairstyle.
We both had this. He had a smaller bum than me. So Steve is actually a friend of Pete's as well.
Yeah,
that was Bardo.
That
was 1982.
One step.
One step further.
You're so young.
Attention, no matter how I try. I just want you to prefer me to the other guys. Yeah, my pop career.
First of all, 82. You're so young. Second of all. By the way, I'm echoing for some reason. I don't know why. Second of all, I was watching it, and I love that you sort of ended in a battement, but it's not really a straight leg battement. It's like a you make the bold choice of bending your leg and flexing your foot. It's a very interesting.
and showing my knickers. Very important.
Let's take a gander. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I mean, small amount of knickers, but other top of the pops and stuff, more knickers were shown.
So 2 things. So yes, it's a bent leg with a flex foot, bold choice. Second of all,
thank you for pointing out bent leg. Thank you.
Gotta say it. Also, the grammar. I should have taken one step.
Should have taken. Yep. Just look it up. It's there. It's there in the dictionary. I could have taken.
It's the pluperfect future participle. Interesting. Okay, so I'm obsessed with that. And then, so Peter, I mean, there's certain things I want to talk about for a second. Let's talk about Les Mis because Pat Lapone always tells me it was the perfect show in the perfect theater with the perfect cast. What did you think of that original production of Les Mis? Because you were the original Drink With Me guy. What's his name?
I wasn't the original. That was that's Clive Carter who played Grantaire originally. I took over from Clive Carter, but I was in the original. I was the original Jean Prouvaire, the guy who waves the flag. And in the book, he's the first to die on the barricades. A very brave young man. I felt it was one of the strongest casts I'd ever worked with. I had huge admiration for all the leading roles and all the ensemble as well. We played the most wonderful games together. We had the most fantastic rehearsal period. We had 12 weeks to get it right. And we all thought we were going to be out of work by Christmas. And we opened in September because we just couldn't see how a 4-hour show in preview was going to last. And there was this one section where I used to be dressed in as Jean Valjean and had a dummy of Cosette on my back, and it was a whole 15-minute chase section that we had to cut. So that went during previews and lots of other stuff to bring it into a kind of an evening of theatre, and it was still very long. But Cameron, to his great credit, even though the critics hated it, decided it was the phones were ringing off the hook and people were booking for it. I just adored being in it, and I watched and learnt from Alan Armstrong and from Michael Ball and from Roger Allam and from Sue Jane Tanner and all those wonderful people who were in it, enormously. I just enjoyed it from start to finish.
I just can't imagine what's it like being in the rehearsal room and like learning the harmony to One Day More for the first time. Like, didn't you guys think like this is going to be a classic song for the next 30? Like, didn't you know it was stunning?
We did in the rehearsal room, but then when we got into performance, we were feeling that the audience was sagging, and so we didn't really get the proper feel for it until all the cuts had been made. So it was quite a long process of taking stuff out. I tell you what I do remember though, Seth, is on the first day that Claude Michel Chambert came in and he played Bring Him Home. That was in like the 6th or 7th week of rehearsal, and it was the first time anybody had. I wept, and it was amazing. And in the rehearsal, we really knew this was a classic song for a musical. Not only that, but I had the great good fortune to be on the barricade behind Colm Wilkinson when he sang that every night. So you can imagine the sensation and hearing that man's beautiful voice and his control and his fantastic performance throughout was just an amazing experience for me as a young actor.
I found this clip of Drink With Me, and it looks exactly like you.
It
Tell me,
might be one of the clips. I remember being filmed as Grant said. Yes, it might be one of the clips. But
tell me if this is you, because of course it's the '80s, but it sounds like you and it looks like you. Here we go. This original name is.
Yeah.
Drink with me. 2 days gone by. Sing with me the songs we knew, and the shrine of friendship. Never say die. Let the wine of friendship never run dry.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. I was just about to say the same thing. That was me. Yeah, that was me.
We have our doctor.
Beautiful.
We have Dr. LaPook drinking right now. He's our medical correspondent.
John LaPook.
Hi, Triplett.
Hi, doctor.
How are you?
First of all, Peter, you sound beautiful on that
gosh.
solo.
Bless you. Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. Yeah.
What a unique voice. It's like almost like a folk singer. It's so beautiful, your voice. I just love it.
Well, it's very kind of you. Thank you. I don't know. I've been getting away with it for about 40 years. So,
You're so British.
You know what, Peter and Sally Ann? I mean, normally we'd be giving you a little break here, but because it's so late in London, I'd love to take advantage of Dr. LaPook is on the West Coast. You're in London. We're in New York. John, what are you hearing? Like, what I would love to know the difference between we hear about the lockdown in the UK versus different lockdowns and so on that are happening here.
Because Peter and Sally said shows are still happening in London in some theaters. So, like, what do you hear about the difference? Yeah, pantos.
How do you have people going to the theater?
It's socially distanced. I mean, look, this is how it stands at the moment, that there are shows that will be happening at the Dominion Theatre, for example. A Christmas Carol is being put on, and it holds, I did Grease there, and it's a barn. It holds like over 2,000 people. So I guess they're going to have probably about 1,000 people. It's all socially distanced. And there's this new test that is coming out, which is the quick test. Obviously, you're going to know much more about that than me. That's how it stands at the moment. But our lockdown stops on the 2nd of December, at which point, even before then, we're going to know whether we're still in these different tiers, because we have different tiers all around the country. Like the north of England was in a different tier to the south, which was in a different tier to the west, wasn't it, Pete? It was crazy.
And there are even parts of London which are in different tiers as well. Yeah. So the only way they can manage to do these in the theatre is also they're bringing the audience in at different times. So they're all socially distanced when they come in. There are temperature readings as the audience come in. I think there are, in certain instances, there are screens as well from the audience as well with people singing. So I think they're observing some very strict, COVID rules. The protocols are interesting, but I don't think that financially that these shows are going to be, viable. I think they're just doing to show that we can exist and that we can perform even under these circumstances, and to give people some entertainment.
Yeah, it's really tough, right? Because indoors, hopefully everybody's wearing masks, right? That's just absolutely required.
I think the audience are. Yeah, the audience are required to.
But the problem is you have aerosolization of the virus. We now know 6 feet is not a magic number, and that over time, especially if ventilation isn't good, the virus can accumulate and build up in the air. Think about cigarette smoke. If everybody was puffing out a little bit, at the end of the evening, it would be filling the room, and that's how people can get it. The masks are not 100%, but I'll tell you this right now. You talk about the different tiers. I mean, we all are shedding tears right now in the United States because it is just ablaze. If you look at a map of the United States, it looks like it's on fire. And I know it's the same thing across various areas of Europe. But right now, this vaccine news is huge. We heard now that Pfizer, it's 95% effective. Moderna, 95% effective. And with Moderna, the 5% of people who did get the illness, none of the 11 people with severe COVID in the study had the vaccine. So it looks like if you got the vaccine, you did not get 95% of the chance of not getting it all. If you're the 5% who got it, you weren't in the group that had severe disease. So all of this is to say, it's been a long haul. We've been, 9 months into this. We're all fed up. Got COVID fatigue. Hang in there. You don't want to be the last soldier to die in a war. No. If you just, we're talking about in December, tens of millions of doses in the United States are going to be given, probably to first responders and the most vulnerable. And then each month, I spoke to the chief scientific officer of Pfizer and the president of Moderna, all in the last 48 hours. You're talking about 40 to 50 million doses a month of just the Moderna vaccine, and the Pfizer is going to be tens of millions. It's rolled out, and the reason why that, you got to tip your hat to the project, to Operation Warp Speed, because one thing they did really well was they decided to create the vaccine at risk, meaning they weren't going to wait to see which one worked. They were going to have them make tens of millions of doses right from the get-go. So right now that we found out, wow, 2 vaccines are working, you don't have to say, okay, now go make it. They've already been making it. And if they hadn't been good, they just would have lost money. But now we're in I think so for everybody out there who's feeling sad and depressed and with good reason, hang in there. It's really going to be a matter of months now till you can get the vaccine.
John, can I ask you, when I left New York at the end of August, and there was not one person without a mask on anywhere you went, even if on the other side of the street they had a mask on, how has it got so bad again?
Well, New York's not so bad. New York is not very bad at all.
It
New York
isn't. I think all the schools were shut down again now in New York.
Well, now it's going up. What's happening is that imagine we have 50 different states. It's like imagine if you had a football game. Well, that's soccer, American football game, or a soccer game, and you had 50 different coaches and 50 different game plans. That's what we have in the United States. We're not rowing in the same direction. If we had a national plan and leadership saying, this is what you're going to do. You're going to all wear a mask. It's not going to be politicized. The fact that people are not wearing masks throughout the country, it's crazy. And I think about London. It's World War II. It's the Blitzkrieg. The Nazis are bombing, and you have the blackout shades. And one person says, you know what? I'm not going to black out my window. That's my right as a citizen to not wear it. Yeah, your apartment may not get, your flat may not get bombed, but the one next door may get bombed. And that's exactly what has happened. People not wearing the masks. Maybe they're young and they didn't even get sick, or they didn't even know they got sick, but they infected somebody who was vulnerable or older. So we've been saying it. Fortunately, Seth and James are now AADs. Do you know what that stands for? Also a doctor. It's a special degree. And,
excellent.
They've got it down. And I have to say, the viewers are so sophisticated, the questions that come in. So we have to educate people. Wear the mask, wash your hands, physical distance. I don't like social distance because we're all coming together socially. Physically distance, avoid crowds, and outdoors is safer than indoors. And during this holiday season, I know for thousands of years we've combined eating with socializing. We have to turn a screw in our head, separate those for now, and eat first. Then if you want to come in with people outside your pod indoors, you're going to have to be wearing masks. There's no way that I know, and I am a physician, that you can eat food without taking your mask off. And it goes in there. So you got to take that mask off, and then you're vulnerable.
Yeah, because we have Thanksgiving coming up, Sally Ann and Peter. So a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, we have huge family gatherings at Christmas.
Well, Thanksgiving is almost worse than Christmas, isn't it? In the States, in a way, I feel like people always want to travel. They're going somewhere.
What are you seeing in London in terms of people wearing masks?
Yeah.
What's it like?
Are people wearing masks? Like, what percentage of people are wearing masks?
Nearly everyone is wearing a mask. I have to travel because my mum is 90 and she lives in North London. I'm staying in South London, so I am her only carer. So I am allowed to travel. I have to travel.
Yeah.
As soon as I leave my door, I put my mask on, even if I'm walking on the street. Just because I just think if I've got it on, then I don't forget. And then it's on then, isn't it? And I've noticed when I first got here it was not too bad, but now everyone has a mask on, and it's I feel like people are ramped up. But the other day I was on the Northern Line. For some reason the train was crowded with workers, all men. I think they just left a building site. They all had their masks on, every single one of them, and they were all on their phones. They had a hard day, and a young girl got on with no mask, sat opposite me, and started coughing. And I was so furious, and I thought, I don't want to get into a state, so I just left the carriage and went to another carriage. And I just thought, that how? Like, even if you're vulnerable, if you can't wear a mask, don't sit down in amongst us. It's just common sense.
What that mask says, the writing on the other side says, "I respect you."
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
And that says the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think, what John's concerned about are these December musicals that people are going to be singing on stage near each other. It's aerosolization. And these old theaters in London don't have great ventilation. So if they could somehow keep the damn doors open, I guess, and if they're not facing towards each other and singing, but it's going to be dangerous if there are casts doing that. They're going to spread it, man.
We had a famous episode in the United States where in a choir in Washington State, one person looks like they infected 52 people in a choir rehearsal. And it wasn't because they were within 6 feet of them. You're singing more aerosols out in the air. You're not singing with a mask on, right? I don't know if you are.
No, not in these pantos.
Yeah.
No.
I attended a rehearsal where the whole of the rehearsal process was for a week for a workshop, and we wore masks throughout.
Really?
And we were screened off from the other actors. So
Well, one thing about, again, to try to just educate about those screens. If it's within 6 feet, maybe some of the schmutz that comes out. We've all been hit by schmutz when we're in the first two rows, right? So that might help that. But remember, it's not doing anything for the aerosols. Think about the cigarette again. You have a screen. The cigarette smoke goes over it, around it, So don't get the false sense of security with those screens. But it does do something, I think, for those people in the front row.
Well, we had COVID tests as well 3 times during the week.
Yeah, and remember the thing about, we've gone over this so many times. So first of all, there are false negatives with the COVID. It's not perfect. You could have a negative test and still actually be infectious. But the other thing is, because there's a 2 to 14 day incubation period, you may test negative this morning, but you're not quite yet infectious. Let's say it's day 4 that you're tested, and then the very next day you become infectious. So that's not perfect either. Okay. They've been calling me Debbie Downer, but especially right now, wah, wah.
Well, I'm going to be safe too. I want to be safe too. And funny enough, it was Bartlett Sher who was directing this workshop. And he never took his mask off throughout the whole of the week, and we were singing. So, it's I'm learning stuff as well from you, John. So, yeah.
Well, let's turn this around. Think about it. It's mid-November. By April in the United States, most of Americans, if they want it, because that's a whole other issue, people who don't trust it because it's Operation Warp Speed and they're afraid that it just was done too fast. Most people who want it are going to have that first shot. I mean, I can see the finish line. I really can. Right. So just redouble your effort.
But don't you need more than one shot? Don't you need one shot and then one 3 weeks later or something? Or
so Pfizer is day 1 and day 21. Moderna is day 1 and day 28. There are some shipping issues with Pfizer because it's got to be like minus 70 degrees centigrade.
Yeah,
which is minus 94 degrees Fahrenheit. But the Moderna one is going to be pretty much minus 20 degrees centigrade, minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a refrigerator. That'll be able to be given in doctors' offices and pharmacies. Yeah. There's going to be enough vaccine if people want it within a very short period of time. Just hang in there. Redouble your efforts. Don't get COVID now. And it's not going to go out like that. Remember that. It goes out with a whimper, not a roar. And we're going to still have to be doing all the stuff that we talked about. But it's going to a year from now, this vaccine, I mean, if everything goes the way it looked, we're waiting for the formal data and all that, it's going to be on its way out. A year from now, it's going to really be
Yeah.
Right.
And my English friends here, because they know I've lived in New York, they keep saying, well, what's happening over there? And I just keep saying to them, New York will be like the last place to open because it requires us to be free, doesn't it? It requires us to go to the restaurants and to travel, to see theatre and be so closely knit with each other.
Yes,
So
we have a lot of tourists, and that and I spoke to one of the theater owners, and he said really what Peter was implying, which is that if you have 1,000 of a 2,000 theater, it's not enough. You need to really have the ability to fill the house, so it doesn't work financially. And he was saying that maybe the summer stock kind of places or the out of town places would go first.
But we do have some outdoor theatres as well. Regent Rock Open Air Theatre, they did the production of, didn't they? Was it Superstar they did?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Superstar, we had our masks on. They were also, I saw it when they did it 2 years before, and they did it another version. It was not a concert version because they moved around, but they were all socially distanced, and they came on at the beginning with their masks on. It was very cool. It was like doom 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 doom.
You're a fan of the opera. I have to ask you a question. Do they still do this tradition? So when I have a friend who was in the Whiffenpoofs, which is this great singing group at Yale, and when they went to London and sang, it was actually a little outside of London. They sang and they thought they did a great job. And when they were done, everybody went, rubbish, rubbish. They were like, what? And then it was explained to them that meant good. But everybody was yelling, rubbish.
It's news to me.
Maybe they were rubbish, and that was just their explanation for their denial.
They were being ironic.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Sarcasm, darling.
Yeah, sarcasm.
Very British. All right, Dr. Lapook, we will see you tomorrow with the head of the NEA. Thank you so much, as usual.
Talking with you guys.
Take care.
Goodbye,
Dr. Al.
Bye.
And by the way, so someone's commenting New York is open. Yes, New York is obviously it's open, but a lot of small restaurants are closed.
Yeah.
No theater is open at all in New York. So yes, you can take the subway and the bus and you can live there, but it's not the New York that we all know and love. I mean, so that's what you mean by not being open.
Yeah.
I get okay. So hold on, we got to just keep talking about the past for a minute. So, Sally, another thing I want to discuss is I keep saying that you're like Bernadette Peters. You played so many lead roles. You got to play. You replaced Elaine Page in Anything Goes, right? Was that amazing to do that show?
No, I didn't replace Elaine.
That was the same staging, though. I was watching it online. Which one was it then?
So Elaine did it at the Prince Edward. Actually, John Barrowman was in it, and then I was in the National Theatre's production, which was Trevor Nunn's last musical, with his at the helm running the National. Yeah, so it was completely different. Stephen Mear choreographed it. Gareth Valentine, John Gunter did the set. Yeah, it's not the same.
It was so fun watching because like. You're such an old school musical theater performer because you really dance. Like, did you really train to dance? You one of those like I just pick up the steps because your dancing looks amazing.
No, I started dancing when I was 2. I wanted to be a ballet dancer. I thought I was going to be a ballet dancer, but then I got to college when I was 16, and I realized that no. And then I started singing, and everyone would be like, and then I thought, oh, I can do this as well. But
no, they were like,
I've always loved the dancing, and I said to someone the other day that I think I'm just always going to be a showgirl at heart, really, because I just love it. It makes me feel good.
You're like an old music hall performer. Here, I love this. Take a gander at this. First of all, it is you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure I hear. It's just so hard to find wigs. Here we go. Here we go.
I was like being in an MGM film doing that show.
What were those cameras? You were filming it for what?
It was an EPK. We never filmed it. Like I wish we had. And it was actually, Trevor tried everything to try and get that production to Broadway as well, but it just never happened. But yeah, we were doing an EPK. And there's just, I think my friend filmed that, Andrew McBain. But yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful production. It was like the perfect storm where everything is amazing.
I saw that production, Sal. It was wonderful. Wasn't that one of the Marquez brothers as well?
Yeah, that was Martin next to me.
Martin.
Yeah.
Okay, so Peter, we got to discuss Miss Saigon for a second. Like, what an amazing role of John. How did it happen? Was it, well, you'd already done Les Mis, you were already known. So it wasn't like an open call or something. How'd you get the gig?
They rang me and they said, would you learn one of the songs? And they were, they had trouble casting it already. And because the song was so high, and I had sung, and you heard my voice, and I sang quite high for a baritone because I was still always a baritone. So I learnt it whilst I was at the RSC, funny enough. And I'd left Les Mis to join the RSC for 2 years. So I learnt the song, and then I went in, and I'll never forget because after the audition, I did audition for it. I sang it once at Drury Lane on stage. Nick Heitner sitting in the audience with Cameron McIntosh, and Claude Michel Schoenberg came up on stage and he gave me a hug after I'd sung it. And but it was still too high for me. So I asked him during the rehearsal process to take it down half a tone. That's why it's in A flat now, as opposed to A. It was originally in "They're called we die, the dust of life, conceived in hell and bondage." That was too high, so I took it down half a tone. So it was the most for me working with Jonathan Pryce, because I worked with him about 4 times during the course of that, and there's Salonga's voice just extraordinary, and her balance and her tone and her poise on stage. Just those artists, working with those people was for me a phenomenal experience, and it was my first major role in the West End, really. And to come in and do Saigon and be the first person to play, I knew that I was in something special, but then I had the chance to work alongside someone of Jonathan Pryce's caliber, and it just, for me, theatre is about collaboration. It's about working with great artists, and you cannot do it in isolation. So it was the collaboration of all those wonderful people, especially people like Jonathan Pryce in that role, that helped me to grow as an actor. And just the material was just extraordinarily interesting to do.
It's so exciting you got to originate a classic song. I think people are still angry at you that you were able to hit that high note, because then everyone had to hit that high note after you. Most normal people would have asked for not just a half step down, but a step and a half down. So there's a lot of anger. But if people,
good.
It's high. I have a clip of you back in the day. Let's take a gander. The original singer. Come on, man.
These are souls in need. They need us to give. Someone has to pay for their chance to live. Help me to fly. Sing it loud. And the bullets strike. They are the living reminders of what we failed to do. That's why we know. That's why we know.
Can I just say,
don't start me off.
In the rehearsal room with Pete, I, honest to God, find myself sitting there just staring at him, gobsmacked. He's quite phenomenal to be in the room with. You're amazing.
But Peter, I think Claude Michel lied to you, because the high note was a B flat. So I don't know.
In A flat, it's a B flat. In A, it then is a B natural.
It was supposed to be a B natural originally.
Yes. So now you get my point, Seth. Now you understand.
Yes.
Imagine doing doing 8 shows a week singing a B natural. So the B flat was just
Okay, so we are here. Just by the way, before we go, I want to say a couple more things.
Yeah.
So we are here promoting Falling Stars. You can go to stream.theater starting very soon.
Please do.
Second of all, 2 more things before we go. 3 more things before we go. We can't forget Sally Ann, also Royal Shakespeare Company, the very, very regal role of Sue, wearing a white unitard and working it.
I've been thinking that how happy she would be if only you'd take Carrie to the prom instead of me.
Do what? Who do you want me to invite? I thought you'd be with me on Friday night, but no, I know you're trying to do what's right, but whoa, I won't be taking Carrie White, no go.
Carrie's really
I know.
I told her
I'm late.
sorry, but that's just not
Okay.
Something like Carrie White was
I
happy
want
and
you to
good.
take that
nice. Carrie.
I wish I had that figure now. Blimey.
You look amazing.
Stick. I remember I bought this leotard when we did. I think I've told you this story before. But I bought this little blue skating leotard, and in rehearsals, I had to come through everyone. And Debbie Allen in rehearsals at the RSC in that beautiful room, she just went, "You go, girl!" Like this. It was so hilarious. That I saw Lindsay yesterday, Lindsay Haitley.
Oh my gosh, how is she, Miss Carrie? How is she?
Miss Carrie is good. Yeah.
Love her.
Yeah.
So before we go, Peter, you're gonna it's so late, it's 2 a.m. You're gonna wake your neighbors, but you're gonna give us an actual live song that's gonna be in this concert.
Yes, I'll give you a burst of it if you want, if we've got time.
Yeah,
We got the burst of it.
Almost. Smile though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile, what's the use of crying? Smile, what's the use of crying? Almost. You see that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Something like that, anyway.
Oh.
Do you want the rest of it?
So lovely. I love that you play and sing. I'm going to close with an actual preview.
Oh,
here's the
good.
trailer for it. So it's called Falling Stars, and here is Sally Ann Wilford and Pizza. Wait, I just said Sally Ann Wilford. Sorry, Sally Ann Triplett. I know Sally Wilford. Ignore that. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
And
Sally
Sally Wilford as well. She's gorgeous.
I love Sally Wilford. Great singer. Which is a soprano. You're a belter. Here we go.
There's a guy I'm wild about. Every time he takes me out, I hug him, I squeeze him, I tease him so. And we always can be found when there's no one else around.
Day will break and you'll awake and start to bake a sugar cake for me to take for all the boys to see.
You never know, as a singer, what glorious, forgotten melodies you might uncover in this sort of a place. So, yes.
We have no bananas. He has no bananas today.
Yay.
We call them bananas.
Yeah.
Bananas.
Bananas. Actually, the song is about a Greek greengrocer, and my ancestry is Greek, so I do the song with a Greek accent.
Wow, nice accent, very real. All right, so kids, this is going to start airing Sunday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. I'm going to put it
the 22nd to the 29th of November. You can access this via stream.theatre.
Theatre. So when you're home, when you're not going to somebody's house for Thanksgiving, because you should be staying home, it's a perfect thing to enjoy yourself and watch. So let us support it. Thank you guys both. I'm surprised you weren't broadcasting literally from your bed under the covers. So I'm very impressed. You actually sat up.
I'm actually sitting just in front of my bed.
There you go.
Yeah, so you can't see it because that's why I've draped all this stuff over there.
It's working. All right,
all I have to do is literally jump over my mirror.
Wearing a nice shirt. All right, well, thank you so much. We're going to roll our credits. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Kelly.
Goodbye.
Thanks for having us.
What
Absolutely.
I'll underscore it in honor of Sally.
Yeah. Anything goes.